Hi boys and girls, today we're going to start part 3 of our actions project and we're going to do so in Illustrator. That was part 2, so I'm going to go to File, New, and make sure that I'm putting in things the way that we are, the name the way we're supposed to, making sure that it's inches and making sure that my dimensions are correct. Alright, so here we have a nice fresh page, and this is a bit of a journey that we're going to take today using mostly the text tool, the letter T. Unlike other word programs that you might work with, we're just going to click and release to create our first letter. Now, you're going to be creating words that are actions that you like to do. For example, my first word is going to be inspire because hopefully I'm inspiring my students to do good work. So I'm clicking my text tool. I'm going to make some changes up here. I'm never going to stick with Myriad Pro. Myriad Pro is, I might have told you last year, is one of the tools that veterinarians use when they want to put an animal to sleep because it's that boring. Here's what it looks like. So very boring. So instead, I'm going to highlight the text, or you could do it. You could also make these changes before you put in any text. But I'm going to go to Type and Font because that's going to allow me to actually see what the fonts look like, so I know what I'm doing. And I'm just going to pick. I think Baskerville looks pretty neat, so I'm going to click Baskerville. Let's go with regular, and I'm going to make my first letter, which is the letter I. And you might think that you would type in the whole word here, but I don't want you to. What you're going to do instead is click our selection tool and then go back to the letter tool and click somewhere else on your page, and you're going to put in your next word. I'm again going to go to Type and Fonts to make it a different font, and basically our purpose is to make it a different and interesting font for each letter. Now I realize that this is totally small, so let me change the size first before I go forward. Okay. Sometimes snagging these can be a little bit tricky. All right, I'm going to go on to my next one. Those letters are pretty different. That's cool. So I'm going to click my selection tool again and click my text tool. And I'm going to change. I can't go there because it won't show me what they look like. Here you go. And let's do something else pretty different. So we're going to do S. And then click selection tool, click this. There's a reason for me doing this separate, and I'll explain it in just a sec. Okay, so here you'll see that I completed all the letters, and I'm going to start using my selection tool to move them all into the same place. You'll see that each one is a different font because, again, I'm trying to create variation and show exploration of the tools that we're using in Illustrator. If you're one of those people who are like, oh, I'm OCD, I have to have them all in the same text, then do what I did. Do it your way, and then do it my way so that you can just keep yours on the side or whatever. This way you're getting the points that I'm grading that show inspiration, that show variation, and you're also doing it the way that you want to do it. And I'll even let you use whichever one you prefer in the final project, but I think that this one is going to end up much more exciting, and here's why. When I go and try and create variations, the next step is going to be that I'm going to select each letter and go to Type, and then outlines or create outlines. And that's going to change it from a letter into something that it's really just like a picture almost. So now I'm going to use the selection tool so that I could like turn it so I can have them offset. I can make them different sizes from each other. And I'll be able to do that with each one. Now the really smart thing would be instead to go over here and go to Type, create outlines, and that'll do it to all of them. And I selected them all with a box using the selection tool. And now they're all still separate, but they're all still pictures. So I will be able to vary them each in different ways. The problem with this one is it's all together. So if I went to Object, Create Outlines, Type, Create Outlines, it's going to make it so that I change the whole thing, and I'll never be able to vary anything. This word is complete. So that's why I don't want you to do it that way. So even if you do want it all in the same font, you're going to have to do it as separate letters using that selection tool to divide them up. All right, so anyway, the next step is to turn each one, or not, maybe not each one, but some of them. So that's another way that you're creating variation. It also makes it look more like one of those pages that you might see, like if this were a ransom note or something like that. So, you know, try and have a little fun with it. In fact, I'm actually going to flip this one over just to make it even a little bit more interesting. I'm still going to tilt it also, and I'm definitely going to blow this one up. If you hold the shift key, it'll keep things in proportion, but I'm not looking for proportions to be the same for me. So there you go. All right, so there's my more fun version of the word inspire. So next I'm going to select one of my letters, and I'm going to go to where it says style. So this is still the options area, but we're going to a new part of it. Inside the style, there's tons of folders, subfolders, of different things that you can do. My favorite thing is 3D effects. So I like to explore in this area, but I suggest you explore the other areas too. You can see that that blows out my letter and puts it into 3D. And I'm just going to click each letter and change it. You'll also notice that sometimes things happen a little bit differently. That's because some letters are, what's the word I'm looking for, not compatible with some of these effects. So if you see something that you don't like, you can always undo it, go to a different one. And like, for example, I definitely don't like that. I like this one better. So I'm going to stick with that. And then this can be here. Now, of course, if you're really exploring, you're going into all the folders and not just 3D. Okay, so here we have a completed set of letters, and the only thing left is to group them. Now, you may want things to overlap, which is fine, to change where things are in space. For example, if I wanted this P to stand out a little bit more, I could select it and go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And also I can even make it bigger so that not only does it overlap the I, but now it comes out a little bit more. However, I kind of like that I even better than I like the P, so there you go. I think we could all agree that between these two complete words, one of them is much more inspiring than the other, and one certainly shows much more variation and exploration of the text tool in Illustrator. The last step is you may want to change some of your colors. So you can go in here and start working on your color things, but again, not everything is compatible, so it might come up with unexpected results. So just be aware that that's a possibility. So you can see that there is some pink and blue in there, but there's also some black, which it doesn't seem like I can change. And that'll be true throughout. But there you go. You could have also decided that maybe, well, it's really worth it for me to be able to change the colors, so I'm going to change that style. And then you could select a different style that you can work with that'll maybe have your colors in it. So here I am with my finished word, and it's nice and fun and crazy, which is what I was going for. Unlike this one, which I'm finally going to just delete. But I am going to do one more thing using my shape tool. I'm going to go back to the square, or you could really pick whatever you want. I'm going to pick the rectangle tool though. And I'm going to draw some boxes. The reason that I'm doing this is because I want my my word to stand out, and we know that we've done like kind of messy lines, we've done kind of messy shapes, and our words are a little bit messy, so I want them to stand out. So what I'm going to do now is create a relatively simple color palette of squares. And I'll fast forward this too until you can see what I'm going to do with them. Okay, here I have some rectangles and squares that are about the same length as my word. And I could place them on one at a time, but instead I'm going to group them first, all my letters, Command G, and I'm going to put them on top of my squares, which are going to help provide, oops, I'm going to have to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, which are going to provide a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for, organization. So that you can see that all the letters are separated by these harsh lines here from the rest of my project, which is ultimately going to be put together. So that's one solution for that. Now I could have drawn like a shape like a heart with the pen tool and put that behind it, or maybe I could have worked with my other tools, but I find that the squares are very good at separating and blocking things off, so that's why I chose that. And that's the end of how to create your inspiring action word. So now that this is all together, I can group this, Command G, and now they'll all move. And by the way, once you group something, it moves and transforms together. So if you wanted to do any last minute editing like as a group, you can. Or if you ever wanted to ungroup it, you could go to you could have it selected, and you could just go up here to Object, Ungroup, and it also shows you the keyboard shortcut for that, which is Command G and the up arrow. So all in all, we want to create 3 separate action words. So think of things that you do that you can create your other words for. Maybe you like to travel or cook or explore or create or play, and those are things that you can all use.